Do you know one of the strangest countries in history? A state that existed for only 4.5 years, with its own constitution, government, and courts, yet was never officially recognized. A place where salaries were paid in deerskins, where an alliance with Spain was contemplated, and which eventually vanished. You've never heard its name, have you? Come on, let's discover together the incredible story of the state of Franklin, which tried to become the 14th state of the United States. The story begins shortly after the end of the American Revolutionary War. At that time, the territory of the state of Franklin was considered to be 4 counties of North Carolina. The frontier settlers living west of the Appalachian Mountains, in what is now eastern Tennessee, faced an uncertain future. At the end of the Revolutionary War, the United States Congress was burdened with massive debt. In April 1784, the state of North Carolina voted to cede some of its lands west of the Appalachian Mountains to Congress to help pay debts related to the Revolutionary War. But why? When the war ended, these settlers needed protection against Native American tribes, and the closest thing they had to an established government was North Carolina. However, for reasons not unlike those that had made King George III reluctant, North Carolina was unwilling to bear the expense of sending its militia to defend frontier families who were steadily pushing into lands claimed by Native American tribes. To help address its enormous debts, North Carolina decided in June 1784 to transfer 3 of its western counties to the federal government. Congress had 2 years to accept the land, but the offer was withdrawn a few months later in the fall. In the summer of 1784, North Carolina voted to give this land to Congress. Then, following a new election, the state reversed the decision and reclaimed the territory. The settlers west of the mountains were unsure what this chain of events meant, but they no longer felt secure relying entirely on North Carolina for their safety. Fearing that the appearance of chaos might invite Native American attacks, frontier leaders moved quickly to fill the vacuum. On August 23, 1784, around 50 leaders met in Jonesboro and signed a document declaring their independence from North Carolina. Delegates from Washington, which then included present-day Carter County, Sullivan, Spencer, now Hawkins County, and Greene counties gathered in Jonesboro. There, they declared the lands independent from North Carolina. Leaders were duly elected. John Sevier reluctantly became governor, Landon Carter, president of the Senate, William Cage, the first Speaker of the House, and David Campbell, judge of the Superior Court. Within months, they formed a loosely organized government, established a court system and militia, and placed Sevier, one of the heroes of the Battle of Kings Mountain 4 years earlier, at its head. In December, elected representatives convened in a church in Jonesboro, drafted a constitution, largely borrowing from North Carolina's, elected Sevier as governor, and named the new state Franklin, in honor of America's elder statesman, Benjamin Franklin. But there is an interesting detail. Franklin was initially known as Franklin. Apparently, Sevier changed the name to attract support from Benjamin Franklin, then the most popular living American. The change happened so quickly that many books about Franklin never mention the original name. In March 1785, Franklin sought admission to the Union and sent a representative to the Continental Congress. The vote fell short. In the spring of 1785, William Koch presented Franklin's case, asking Congress to accept it as the 14th state. Needing 9 affirmative votes, Franklin received 7. Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Georgia. 2 months later, in May 1785, Franklin petitioned again. Although a majority of states voted in favor, it still failed to reach the required 2/3 majority. Despite support from 7 states, Franklin could not secure statehood. Rather than returning the territory to North Carolina, Sevier and his colleagues resolved that Franklin would continue, recognized or not. Franklin grew rapidly. By late 1785 and early 1786, Approximately 10,000 families had migrated from Virginia and North Carolina. The territory expanded from 3 original counties to 8. Essentially, the unrecognized state of Franklin functioned as a self-governing nation, with its own constitution, courts, and treaties with Native Americans. However, Franklin never created its own currency, relying instead on barter. People traded using tobacco, corn, brandy, and animal skins. As governor, John Sevier's annual salary was 1,000 deerskins. Under Franklin's constitution, clergy and lawyers were barred from holding public office. An unusual constitutional episode followed. Delegates proposed the Houston Constitution, which envisioned a unicameral legislature, religious freedom guarantees, and the submission of routine legislation to citizens for discussion and approval. Adult males could vote without property qualifications, but were subject to moral restrictions. Lawyers, clergy, and doctors were excluded from office. Though not entirely unique, the document represented a radical approach to self-government. Heated debate led to divisions, and the Constitution was ultimately rejected. A new constitution, largely modeled on North Carolina's, was adopted instead. But Franklin's troubles were only beginning. By late 1786, Franklin had neither federal military protection nor North Carolina militia support. North Carolina offered to forgive back taxes if Franklin rejoined the state. When this was rejected in 1787, North Carolina sent troops under Colonel John Tipton, re-establishing its own courts and government in Jonesboro. Two rival administrations now operated side by side. Meanwhile, conflict with Native Americans intensified. The 1785 Treaty of Dumpling Creek allowed settlement in Cherokee-designated lands, sparking hostilities. By late 1786, violence escalated into war marked by atrocities on both sides. In 1787, Franklinites continued expanding westward into native lands. But by September 1787, Franklin's legislature held its final session. Loyalties fractured, and crisis loomed. In early February 1788, North Carolina Sheriff Jonathan Pugh seized property belonging to John Sevier, including several enslaved people, and brought them to Tipton's home. Enraged, Sevier mobilized the Franklin militia and marched on Tipton's residence. Between February 27th and 29th, Sevier's forces besieged the cabin. A brief clash followed, known as the Battle of Franklin, resulting in 2 deaths. Though minor, it marked Franklin's effective end. Soon after, Native American tribes launched coordinated attacks on frontier settlements. Desperate, Sevier sought financial assistance from Spain and even considered placing Franklin under Spanish authority. North Carolina officials, alarmed, arrested Sevier in August 1788. He was quickly freed by supporters, but retreated. In February 1789, Sevier and the last holdouts swore loyalty to North Carolina. Franklin was over. The state of Franklin lasted only 4 years, 1784 to 1788, but its legacy endured. Its lands became northeastern Tennessee, admitted to the Union in 1796. John Sevier went on to become Tennessee's first governor. What remains of Franklin? Very little. Most official records are lost. Even the log cabin that once served as the capital disappeared after being dismantled for an 1897 exhibition. Yet Franklin's failure had consequences. It highlighted weaknesses in the Articles of Confederation and influenced the drafting of the U.S. Constitution. Its story underscores the challenges of building a new nation, balancing frontier autonomy, federal authority, and the creation of new states. For 4.5 years, this small, phantom state had no flag, no currency, but grand ambitions. It vanished, but its place in history remains unforgettable. So, did you know the story of the state of Franklin? What do you think about America's lost 14th state? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications. See you in the next episode, where we'll explore another forgotten story from history.